Welcome viewers to EPG Pathshala lecture series in architecture for MArch students. We have just seen what is georeferencing and digitization in general. Let us continue with the same. The previous episode we have seen how to georeference a data. Once I georeference a data, two methods we have seen. One is your using latitude longitude, which is already available. Second method is to utilize the facility through Google Map, select the data or get the XY coordinates from Google and register the data. So on registration, so this will be the map which is readily available. Now initially it was a non-earth coordinate system, presently it is a coordinate system. Now what exactly the system is going to do is that if you'll have to rectify it, because it's very important. Just by registering the data, the system, the work doesn't end. You'll have to save it in such a way that it will be retaining the values permanently. So we say rectifying the data. One is just registering the data, giving the XY values. Secondly, you will have to give the rectification. So be sure, very important, please remember, naming of the file is one of the prime things what one should remember. So whatever the data what you are going to create, you will have to give the, say for example here, this is what is your one town name, whatever is that, you just give that and say rectified underscore rectified, so that it will be easy for this one when you are doing for the future. So this will be the name of the file and this will be the path, and once you say yes, save, the system will automatically, so now it's saved, the data is saved now, and then you have a new data and that will be underscore, and you can see how it is displayed now. What was not there previously, now it's a displayed one. So one will be your registered one, the one will be a rectified one. So this is the one which will be using it all the time. We cannot use the original because it's a non-earth coordinate system. Now there is another method of doing it. Say for example, I was just telling you majority of the things are it's a kind of a bible for most of studies, namely a topographic map. Topographic map, what I told you in the initial stage, similar that also here also will be using the values. Here it will be your latitude longitude. Invariably a topographic sheets will be available in 50,000 scale. If it is a 50,000 scale, they just try to give the values in say 15 minutes, 5 minutes rather. You will have a 15-minute map with a 5-minute gridding, where in which you have 87 degrees, then when you just go to the right it will be 8705, 10 and 15, that is 15 minutes, and then again here 2345 is the top left corner, at the bottom you will have 30, 35, 40, 45. So 9 grids will be there and you can choose anywhere in between those grids and then try to register the data. Let us see here 87 degrees and 2345, just to make you understand how important these values are. You will have to convert this, so that is the reason I just thought I should tell you this particular aspect. 87.0 no problem, but here 2345. When I have minutes, I will have to divide by say 60. When I have a 2345 on 15 seconds, I will have the 15 seconds have to be divided by say, as you know very well, 3600. So I will have to divide the values accordingly. Say let me say 2345 15 means 15 divided by 3600, 45 divided by 60 plus 23, then you will get the decimal value. So 23 point, of course this I know pretty well, this is your 75% of 60. So 23.75 and this is 87. So first point I prick will be your 23.75 and 87, or else the x comma y will be 87 and 23.75. So you will get the value here. You can see here 87 and 23 point. So once I get this value, so this again you can find that one is your value in the system and one value the map part of it. Okay, so whatever is there in the original value and the map part of it. So you say 87 and 23.75. Just okay, and then select 4 points. Of course, let us not repeat the same thing here. I am just telling you at the bottom left, and we just normally travel like this and then come back to the point of your. So this is the final point, the fourth point rather, and this will be your same 87 degrees and then 2330. That is 30 means 23 degrees, 30 minutes means 23.5. That is what I was just trying to tell you. So divide the minutes by 60 and if you have seconds, divide by 3600 to convert into degrees. That is all, very simple. So you will have a value of 87 degrees and 23.5 will be the values here. Now the entire thing has been now readied. now you find the data as topographic map. It is understood by the system that it has got a specific coordinate system. So, we are given the latitude and the longitude values. Now, let us go to the tools and then just check what exactly or how we are going to work on that. Very importantly, I was telling you how you set the data frame properties. You will have to also give the bounds for this, and you will have to give the values in such a way that it will have a coordinate system. Either it is going to be your say WGS 84 coordinate system, which could be your latitude longitude, or it could be your easting and northing, what you give in the form of your say your UTM coordinate system. Either of the two can be utilized very well. Now, coming back to this one, we will have to choose the values according to the requirement. So, just select this and then make the system. You will have an option of say coordinate systems, either geographic coordinate system. So, choose that one, and then again you have the world values. From the world again you choose the WGS 84. So, once you just give this value, and you will find the new set of map will have a specific coordinate system assigned to it, and it is final. The data is ready for any kind of use. Now, for the same method of how to locate it, how to find out, for the next time when I just go to that, I have registered the data, I have given a specific projection system, and now I want to save that. And so that next time when I open, there will not be any issue as far as that particular data is concerned. I can just open at the same place. For which first is registration, second is you are saving that in a MXT. In ArcGIS, you say save as. When you ask the system to say save as, the system will ask you what is the name you want to give. So, you just select a name and then extension will be MXT. It is just a workspace. Whatever or wherever you want to save the data, you can save, that is your choice. Then whenever you open using that particular, for example, in this context you will have only one layer. Many times we will have 5, 6, 10 and in some cases we also have 60, 65 layers. Each time you cannot be loading that, isn't it? So, what is that we try to do is we tell the system, so every layer is at different places or at the same place or whatever it is that I want to open all of them at a time, for which I will have to store it in a workspace, as the name indicates, space where you work, workspace, and that is your .mxt. So, once I just give a specific name, I told you earlier, always giving the name is the most important thing. You should remember that particular aspect. Now, here, so I just give the name, whatever is the requirement, I just give it as an MXC and then say save. Now, this is how you try to save the data. Well, fine, very greatly I have just worked on that. I have brought the data. Now I have a different assignment, like I have just converted hard copy into a soft copy. That soft copy is referred to a specific coordinate system and it is stored in the system. Does it mean my work is complete there? No, I will have to now make the system to understand what is present where. When I use a topographic map, I have many details in that, right from the road network, rail network, water bodies, drainage system, utilities, points of your habitation. Not only that, everything and anything. I told you it's a Bible like to most of the studies rather. Now, I have the advantage of GIS here. When I am saying GIS advantage, I have the biggest advantage is that I can store the various layers what I have listed in different layers. That is the biggest advantage. Any number of layers, there is no limitation for the n number of layers which can be in a single file. What we are going to do is that we are going to create shape file for each of the layer. For example, I can have road, a person who is interested in only in working on roads irrespective of the application. He may be interested in getting information about roads. He will be interested in digitizing only or converting the raster to vector of only roads. As a scientist in say water related studies, I may be interested only in the water bodies. So, depending upon the application, depending upon the importance from a given map, an individual can select his point of interest and then create a file, and that we normally call it as a shapefile. Nothing but, don't worry, shapefiles are nothing but is your the extension which is given in the case of your ArcGIS, that's all. It's otherwise called as the file. Now, how to create and edit a shapefile using ArcGIS? Now, I have the map ready with me, I will have to create. For creating a map or a shapefile, you can also have that in what is called as a PGDB, Personal Geodatabase. This Personal Geodatabase will help you in creating the files of your requirement in n number of layers, up just not only just like a shapefile. Shapefile can be individual files. This could all be in one PGDB, n number of layers. You can store it on the disk. What is that you are supposed to do? How are you going to create? Before starting the process of digitization or converting the raster to vector, we are going to create a PGDB file. Either it could be an individual shapefile or a PGDB file. This PGDB has to be created in ArcGIS rather, using what is called as ArcCatalog. So, you will have to go to the ArcCatalog in ArcGIS ArcMap rather, or ArcGIS tool, or you can also use the geoprocessing tool which is available here. Now, as you know, all these things are just a procedure, just make it easy and convenient. I have just all programs, ArcGIS, select the ArcCatalog program or click ArcCatalog in ArcGIS software itself. So, another start all programs, ArcGIS, select ArcMap, click on the icon. So, two methods, one is the directly going to all programs and then finding out the ArcCatalog, or to enter through your ArcMap. So, this are two ways in which you can select the ArcCatalog. So, this is the button. So, you can, the ArcCatalog is there. So, this ArcCatalog, just click and once you click on that, it will give you a list of it. Where do you want to store? This is ArcCatalog. As the name indicates, it is a catalog, nothing else, no uniqueness in that. This is a catalog which will contain the details of your storages. Now, just right click on this side and then whatever is required here, of course, this will give you on the system. So, whatever is important, you can just create a new personal geodatabase. So, when you create a new personal geodatabase, it is created and loaded in the selected location, obviously, isn't it? Then you will have to give a name for that. So, right click, just select this new personal geodatabase and it will get loaded here, and you will have a, you can give a name. Of course, it will give a name differently, you will have to give a name on your own. So, once that is ready, you will have to go for next set. So, what features you are going to create? It will ask you for what is that you want to do. You will have to say new feature data set. The feature data set is that what are the contents of that particular file. Namely, I was just telling you about personal geodatabase. What is a feature here again? You talk about two things, or rather three aspects: point data, line data, area data. So, in vector files, this is a basic inputs. No other method you can input. Either it could be point or a line or an area. Let me say point data, it does not have length or area. Line data, it contains only length, does not have area. Whereas, when you talk about area, you have both area as far as the circumference or perimeter, or that is represented, otherwise your length part of it. You will have to create a new feature set, data set, select the new feature data set on that. Then, just before going to that, it will ask you what is the name of that. So, you will have to say the name of that data set, you just give that. Then, as we have done in the case of your raster image georeferenced, how you have set the coordinate system, please do not forget to set the coordinate system. Once you set the coordinate system, in this context also let me select the geographic coordinate system of that particular area. Now, you know that just a routine, all these things are invariably, you do not have to bother about the changes, are they are all default, unless otherwise you are used to it, you have a specific application, do not make any changes to this, just say next and then finally click on the tolerance. So, tolerance and all these things are invariably, I told you, it is preset. You can also give the value if it is required. I told you, unless otherwise you are very much used to the context and the importance, you do not have to worry about that. It will all be there. So, a new feature data set will be created when you say yes. Once the feature data set is created, and what you can now, you will have to do, you can just start incorporating the requirement of your point data or line data or area data, whichever is that required, you can incorporate in this new feature data set, isn't it? So, what is that I am going to do now? I am just going to bring this new feature data set and the feature class. I just told you about the data set is ready. Now, we are going to talk about the class. What are they again? Point, line, area, depending upon my requirement or study. So, for example, if I am going to give a data, say like a point data or a line data or area data, just give that type. Now, once I give that, you can just select the name. Once you give the name, rather, you can just select what is that you want to have. Your either it's a point data or a line data or your polygon data. Just choose from this drop down menu, one of them you select, and please remember, in case of ArcGIS, you can never have point and line and area in one layer. One layer should be unique, either a point or a line or a polygon. Whereas in other software, especially MapInfo, you have the advantage of having all the three in the same layer, but not in the case of your ArcGIS. It could be either point or a line or a polygon. It cannot be one, all the three or any two of them in one single layer. Now, let us see that. I give the name of the feature class, and I also select what is the type of feature I want, a point, a line or area or a polygon rather in these terms, and then I will have to give the attribute information. I was just telling you how to create the database. When you talk about database, you just can't end up with some sort of a line or a point or area. Otherwise, it is not no way or not much different from your data, your hard copy or a scanned copy. The importance here is that always give the data type. What data you want to add to that. You can have any number of data, there is no limitation. Remember, there will be two features which are always fixed by the system, you cannot change them: shape and the ID. This shape file, shape in the sense, what is that? Point, line and area. Use ID, this is a system generated ID, you cannot have any control over that. You can have a user ID, that is not a big issue. You can have a name of that, whatever is the data name you want to give, you can give, and then the data type, depending again on what exactly you are using, a point, line or area. So, add any number of fields, as many as you like. Here you can see a host of them are there. You can have a drop down in number of fields, choose them from the drop down, choose that particular type of form. What is the data type? I mean, what is the point, what is the value you want to give that particular ID? Invariably, IDs are whole numbers. Let's say number. It could be text type, it could be a whole number, or it could be a float data type. Whatever is that, depending upon the requirement, you just incorporate that and then make the system to give accept that and say yes. Now, you see here, this particular thing has got a set. I told you these two are system generated. You can have, you cannot change it, and this is my field which I have incorporated into the this one. It could be anything. I have just given you for example. A name of the place, it could be name. If I say name, it could be a text file. If it is going to be length, I am going to have it as a float or anything. But please remember not to use names directly like length, area. It will not accept, because you say under area underscore square kilometer, something like that. Otherwise, it will not accept the area. So, there are some bits, tits and bits which you can learn over experience. So, in just what we have done, you see here, open GeoDatabase, click on the GeoDatabase. So, once you just GeoDatabase, once you open that, created it, now you are going to open it in your say ArcGIS. How are you going to do that? So, this is the simple method of that. So, you can see straight away all the three are there. In ArcGIS, as I just told you already, this is the icon which we use for adding the data. So, click on the add data in the ArcMap, then you say GeoDatabase, the data set and the feature classes. It could be point, line or area, whichever you want. You can choose all the three or you can choose one of them. So, let me choose line in the context and then click on line and then give the value. Now, this is where you have the topographic map. Now, you have just entered the GeoDatabase which does not contain any detail. It just if open GeoDatabase, which does not contain any object in that. I think you remember I have told many times in GIS everything is called as object. Okay, please. Now coming back to the incorporation of your data, how to use the data from that now. So you first add the data, namely the topographic map. This is what I am intending to convert from raster to vector. That is digitization process. I am going to convert it from raster to vector. I tell the system go to the main bar, wherein which I choose what is an important toolbar, namely editor toolbar. Editor toolbar is the most important because that will be used most by many of the people under various circumstances. So let us choose the editor toolbar. Yeah, before going into the actual method of doing it, let us see what or how you can convert. Now what is the purpose? We thought let us just register the data. Once the registration is over, let us go into your displaying the data, create a PG database, or you can also have a simple shapefile. One shapefile will contain one layer, or you can have n number of, you want to have all of them in one particular place within a single file, the PG database. Now coming back to this one, how can you convert raster data into vector data? There are three methods in which you can do. One is your fully automatic. In the sense, you just give the input, namely the raster image, then you just give the name of the output, give some name, and just by clicking the whole thing will be converted into, say, raster to vector in no time. Don't you think such a process will not be convenient in many cases as far as majority of the GIS applications are concerned? What is that you can do? In fact, this fully automatic method is something like converting a PDF to your Word document, or you have a IC. In fact, they use it in integrated circuits, or ICs we call it as. A printed IC, if it has to be converted into vector data so that I can handle the data, then they use this fully automatic. But in majority of the cases in GIS, this does not work. So why is it so? Say for example, let me have something like this. I have a contour map. I am seriously interested in converting this contour into a line so that I can use it in the future. So when I am using this contour, when I just scan this map, to make it simple, I have just taken a simple map. You have a intervening line here. This is your drainage line. Get it? This drainage line is just cutting across the contours here. Well, here I have no issues. The contours are exclusive, and very importantly, as you know very well, contours are always parallel to one another. They can never intersect with each other, isn't it? They are unique in nature. Hence, when I convert this automatically, this will convert into one line followed by this, this and this. Here it will be 1 or 2. But when I convert this, I have the disadvantage. Automatically it will come here and it does not know what to do. It does not know whether to go like this or go like this. It is not a logical thinking application. So what it does, it just converts the entire thing in automatically and give you an output which will be something like a mixture of noodles. You cannot separate it, isn't it? Because in fact, this I am showing a very simple line. In fact, you will have lot of lines here and there. They are all contours which are there. So in such cases, it is not possible for you to use this fully automatic method. Hence, let us think of a next method, a simple method. It is called as semi-automatic. Semi-automatic method, and of course, you also have the manual method. That's a laborious, but still it can be. It is a very accurate one. Even semi-automatic is accurate. It depends again the importance. For a line here, when I am using a semi-automatic, the advantage is that once the system goes like this, it comes up to this particular point and stops here. Isn't it very advantageous to me? So what I am going to do now is that I know as a human, because I am a man, I know what exactly I am doing. So my intelligence will tell me, okay, up to here, then the system will ask you whether you want to go up, down, to the right. I just click a little here on this particular line because this is a continuous line. So system will come here, stop here, I click here, system will automatically digitize this. So an excellent method for converting your contour data, especially when you have steep slopes. What do you mean by that? Steep slopes will have very closed knit contours. So, in such a case it will be very difficult to use any kind of manual digitization. It is not rather possible, rather very much difficult. Manual digitization will take for one topo sheet about 15 days. But the same thing if I am doing it automatic, it may give a output, but it will be a mixture of so many lines, there is no point in rectifying that. So, semi-automatic is the best method for converting contours. So, just take it like this up to here, click here and it will complete the line here. Then again the second line it will automatically do, click here, automatically come here, stop. So, wherever you have a deviation, the system will automatically indicate to you and you can change it. So, that is your semi-automatic method of digitization. So, when I am using semi-automatic, I just told you how it can be done, especially when you have intersecting. In fact, here also you have, you see one more line here. So, when this particular line is being digitized, it will come up to here and it will ask you what do you want. So, I just have to click here, go again, stop here, again stop here, but still it is much faster and quicker. So, obviously manual digitization, I have no issues whatsoever. I start from here, I just go mechanically up to here and then complete this one. But definitely it will take a long time because it cannot follow the exact bends and curves. Everywhere in digitization, please remember, the greater the number of points you give, the accurate it will be. That is, more vertices or vertex has to be given so that you will have a smooth line. So, this can be digitized like this. Start from here, one click here, one click here, one click here, and with just 2-3 clicks you can finish. Then it will become more like a box rather than your say a contour line. A contour line is a very smooth one, but though it is tedious, it will be very accurate. So, that is the reason, depending upon the application, depending upon the requirement, we use either semi-automatic or manual. Let us come back to the method of digitization, manual digitization using in ArcGIS. We already loaded the map. And now we are going to start the editor tool. Editor tool will be there. So, this is one of the versions of ArcGIS. Please do not brood, and it will be, when you are going to higher versions, the method may be slightly different, but the concept is the same. So, select the start editing. So, you just instruct the system to saying okay, come on, start editing. It say, once you say start editing, it will just give like this. Okay, what exactly you want to do? Are you interested in creating a new feature? Are you interested in continuing a feature which is already existing? Complete that. You see, n number of options are there. I create one line, that is one person. For example, I just let me take like this particular box, I complete it. Obviously, when I want to generate the next one, advantage is that this line is common to both these boxes, isn't it? So, what is the right of this is the left of this. So, in that context, I need not necessarily redo or redigitize this line. So, what I will do is I will just do this first method, first time, create a new feature, line data. When I am doing the next set boxes or next line, this is only showing it may not be exactly line there, just give an idea. The next line, the next box rather, I will have the advantage of not digitizing this line. So, what I will do is I will ask the system to do a auto completion polygon. So, I just start from here, go around, then come back here and double click here, and this will close. So, this the process is there. Please, because I am not intending or interested in teaching you how to digitize. That is a simple one experience you learn. What should not be done, what should be done is the purpose of this talk. Now, coming back to various things, you can change this, you can modify the data, you can auto complete the data, all these facilities are there, and then you choose whichever is important and then start the work somewhere. Okay. So, create a new feature to start with the particular point, use auto completion to complete the adjacent polygon. Here, what is that I am going to do is that I have created the three things: hides, the spot hides the point data, lines, namely the contours, water bodies, namely the polygons. I am going to choose the contours. I have three options here, and this is my raster image which is rectified and which is ready for use and which is georeferenced. I have water bodies, you can see here showing the polygon, contours, line, heights, the spot heights we call it as the point data. Now, when I use that, now in this context I am going to use contours. When I select that particular thing, it will ask you what color you want to use. Please be judicious, select a possible correct color and don't make it very thick. Maximum could be 1.5 if it is very wide, otherwise my 1 unit is the best method, 1 or 1.5 depending upon the requirement. Choose a color which will be contrasting to your background, otherwise you will find it very difficult to continue the work. Just before going to your final digitization process, I will have to snap the data. You will have an option of your vertex will be there, edge will be there, end will be there. So, vertex, the first point will be the node and the subsequent points are all called as vertex, vertices rather in plural, vertex, vertices, and the last point again will be the node. So, for a given line, starting point and the ending point will be the nodes, or the intervening points will be the vertex or vertices in plural. So, I say that, and similarly when one particular line is drawn like this, I will also have a edge for that. So, when I am cutting across this one to go elsewhere, I will have to come like this, stop at this particular point, edge of this line and then go ahead. I start a point and I complete this particular point, I will have to snap at the end of this point. So, when I come back here, I will have to snap here. So, end snap. So, snapping is the most important thing, otherwise you will be ending up with lot of errors, because the major drawback in digitization is the error reduction, otherwise you will be going on doing the same work without any final output. So, in the case of your contour, I am going to take, say for example, contour, I know there is no question of edge, isn't it? I am not going to cut across, so there is no question of edge. So, that is why I have not selected that, the vertex and the end part. So, I start from here, this is nothing but your 100 meters, most of the time will be meters, rarely we will have feet in India, because we use MKS system, and whereas the UK and US they use the, so you will have feet, here it will be 100 meters. So, I am just choosing one particular contour here. So, this is the contour which I have got to, it's very small, so I am going to do manually. So, I start from a particular point, zoom it to a level and then digitize. Either I can also digitize namely your drainage system, I need not necessarily bother about the contour, I can digitize this. So, because it is all the line. So, I just digitize, start from here and then go around, you can see here. So, this is your particular line and then you can digitize accordingly, complete the particular line and then ask the system to give the values. For example, I have digitized a contour line, this is the contour line, the green color. You see here how it is going on. Okay. So, once this contour line is completed, I will be giving the values 100. So, this is what is data updation. So, there is no point in just giving your digitization, you will also have to give the values for that. So, that is what is your 100. Now, a simple method of converting or digitizing adjacent polygons. Let me see and show you how you use this. So, this is a TSM, town survey map, and this is particular first polygon, and I complete this polygon by selecting the option of polygon. I finish this. Again, now in this context you see I will have to choose all of them, isn't it? So, because you also have a edge here, I choose all of them and then I complete the digitization. Simple, using the new feature, add a new feature, I complete this particular line. Now, I will have to convert this change into the next polygon. There are n number of polygons in the surrounding, any one polygon I will have to choose. Now, here in this context, as what I was telling you, when you have completed this one, I will have to complete the next polygon. To take up the second polygon, I need not necessarily digitize this part. You agree with me? Because there is no need for me to digitize this. This is already available. That means this polygon and this polygon share a part of this line. So, what I am going to do now is, I am going to ask the system to auto complete the polygon. I start from here, go around, make sure that you just maintain a specific zooming level or scale, complete this, double click here. So, the system will automatically take from here to here from this polygon and add it to this. See, such an excellent facility. Most of the software has got this facility. So, after completing one line, I complete the next line. This is one part. Now, coming to the, now here you see similarly I do various lines, but incidentally I also find, apart from this one, I also find in this particular polygon two polygons are there. So what is that I am supposed to do? Now I am going to cut that into two parts. So I say cut polygon, select this particular polygon and then use the cut polygon option, wherein which a single line was there previously. Now I start from here and cut it here. That means I save some more time in digitization. So perform that, and now you see the same polygon has got two polygons now here, 1 and 2. You understand that? So this is the way in which you can digitize. Of course, this is not to tell you how to digitize, just to give you an idea what you should do when you are using the digitization. So let us just conclude this particular process. So after completing the registration, we go for converting the digitization, wherein which you find that first is automatic, fully, semi-automatic and your manual digitization. You can choose either of them depending upon the requirement. If it is going to be anything like automatic for say drawings, something like ICs and things like that you use. Otherwise you use your semi-automatic, and the best and simple method is your manual method of doing. Thank you.